Good evening everybody, and welcome to Tuesday Night Live. Anybody who is watching, please give me a hashtag live, or if you watch on replay, a hashtag replay, just so that I can see who's watching me. That would be great. I've got a few challenges this evening, a bit of a different routine in our house, and I've got the dog in the room. So fingers crossed she manages to keep quiet and keep lay down while I have a chat with you this evening. I'm not sure whether all of you have found my likes page. That's Joanne Jones at it's Joanne Jones, the communication, the early years development. I'm sorry, I'm a little bit distracted because there's water boiling in the background. I'm just going to go and switch off. 1 minute. I'm back. So that was a bit unfortunate. What happened was a pan had been left on the boil, and I'm recording this with that in the background, so I was a little bit distracted. So what I was saying was, I hope you found my likes page. It's Joanne Jones, the Early Years Development Coach, and I did a live in there this afternoon about teaching children verbs, or increasing the amount of verbs children use, and there was 10 steps or 10 tips for helping you to do that. So if you've not found my page, go on over, and I'm just doing lives here and there when questions are thrown up and things come to light. So not as planned as it is in the group, but do things now and then, just as they come along. So let's crack on. Hashtag live if you're watching live, hashtag replay if you're watching replay, and feel free to comment as we go along if there's something you've tried, or if this is something you do with your child and how you get on with it. So I'd love to see your comments. So 5 things to help with your child's understanding. So if you've watched my previous videos, I've talked about how understanding of language develops and the difference between what children are understanding and what they're saying, and how that can be. So go back and watch those videos if you've not already seen them. I've started a YouTube channel, so I've uploaded all the videos, so rather than having to kind of scroll back through Facebook, which can be a bit difficult sometimes, I've put them all up onto my YouTube channel, and I'll share the link in the bottom after this video, so you can just kind of go on over, and they're a bit better organised. But today it's about comprehension, and that's about what your child's understanding. And so how can we help? If children are not learning to understand language at the rate that we think they should be, or they've been late to talk and their comprehension is slower, what things can we do to support them? So the first thing is to reduce the number of questions you ask. And what I always say to parents is, pretend that your child is the computer, and what's really important is what is inputted into that computer. Don't worry about the output. Don't worry about asking questions and finding out what your child knows. Your main concern is what you're putting in. I saw something today about it being a language diet or a language nutrition, and that you're putting that into them. So telling, and not asking. So that would be the first thing. So by reducing questions and increasing the amount that you're telling your child, you're going to help their comprehension. It's really tempting, especially when you've got children that are struggling with language, to ask all these questions because you're wanting to check that they know things. But really try to kind of hold back on that if you can. So my top tip number 2 is to only only speak in sentences 1 or possibly 2 words more than your child speaks. So if your child's not yet talking, don't use more than single words, and maybe little colloquial phrases like "all gone" and "uh-oh, where is it?" So things that kind of flow like that are okay, but in general, only using single words. If your child's got a handful of single words and they're beginning to say those, use 2 words. So you ask them things with 2 words, or you speak to them in phrases of 2 words. If they're putting 2 words together, you need to add on an extra 3rd word, so that all the time you're just talking above their level. And remember, when emotions go up, your language has to come down. So even if you've got a child who understands, is speaking in 2 words and you're talking at 3, if a tantrum's coming or if there's emotion or if something's going wrong, really reduce your language down to 1 or 2 words and just say less. Just say less. Less is often more. Top tip number 3, and this is a really tricky one, so wait. When you have said something to your child, wait. And it's really hard when you are worried about your child's language development to wait. It feels almost a little bit painful to have that silence, but children need time to process. And it's really easy to get into a pattern of revising what you say, saying it in a different way, asking another question that might help. And before you know it, you've said lots and lots of language before your child had a chance to say anything. So I say wait for 12 to 15 seconds. If you can. It is hard, it's really hard, but count in your head to kind of 12 or 15 before you say anything else, and you'll be amazed at what children start to come forward with. I'm not saying that you do this and suddenly your child's going to be talking. That's not the case at all, but you might get a sound, you might get an interaction, you might get them using their hands, you might get them trying again to revise the way they said it, you might get them practicing to be clearer. So providing that gap is so important if you can do it. That's 3. Number 4 is show as well as tell. So as often as possible, show them what you mean. Don't test to see whether they're understanding. Fill that gap for them. Show them what it is you're talking about. Give them an idea of what it is. If you're talking about something that happened yesterday or before, you've got a picture on your phone that can, tune them in. If you're talking about something in the kitchen, do they want a drink, or take them with you, take them to the place. Give them all the cues that you can, and don't, when you go for an assessment, a speech therapist will strip all that back and will say, oh well, yes, we don't want to give visual cues because we want to see what your child's comprehension is like, but on a day-to-day, actually giving them that scaffold to help them is really important. And the 4th one, it was 5th one, I've missed one there somehow. So the 5th one is using pictures and symbols and gesture and signing, whatever kind of signing that is, or just natural gesture that you come across. So again, it's providing a visual. And what we know about adding visuals is that when those neurons are connecting for language, if there's visuals supporting it, the connections are made quicker and they're made stronger. So it doesn't replace. A lot of people get really worried if their child's language is slower and is not developing it the way they would like it. They get worried about adding in these gestures, pictures, signing, photos, because they think that it's going to replace it. But actually, it just reinforces those neural pathways. So the more visuals you can do to support your child's language, the more you're supporting their comprehension from coming on. And I suppose when you think about it, it makes sense, because if you were doing a complicated maths equation, or you were trying to pick out points from a passage, it's far easier if you've got that written down and to go through it visually than it is to do it all auditory. It's much harder. We're all slightly different. We all have kind of stronger pathways for maybe auditory or visual or kinesthetic, so we are all different. But in general, if you add more than one support mechanism, you're going to make those neural pathways stronger. So those are our 5 points. I'll run through them really quickly. So reduce the amount of questions you ask. Talk in sentences only 1 word more than your child is talking. Wait for 12 to 15 seconds before asking another question or reiterating or changing it. Show them as much as you can. Take them and show them, and use pictures, symbols, video, gesture, signing, whatever way to kind of increase those neural pathways. I am a big believer in speech therapy being able to be all the time and just in the way that you're interacting. And I'm here to empower you and give you the strategies and the understanding about language development that you need to be your child's best therapist. because speech therapy doesn't need to be with a stranger in a room. It's about what you do every day and the level of your understanding that you've got of your child's difficulties. I'm always here if you want to ask me anything. Lots of people ask me questions in the direct message box. I watch videos and I help and support people, and I've got things coming online shortly that you can kind of opt into if you want to work with me more closely. But in the meantime, you know, ask away. I'm here, I want to support you, and I'm absolutely loving working for myself and being able to support people in this way. I'm finding it really, really valuable. So keep watching, and if there's anything you want me to talk about, do give me a shout, and I always try and incorporate that into what I'm talking about. Thanks very much. Bye bye.